which Maharashtra government is facing, and the proposal has already passed by the Maharashtra state government, and now they will be sending this proposal to the center with a proper channel. So it would be interesting to see that whether central accepts that proposal and how soon, how soon they accept it. That needs to be seen. But as you said, that who all will be there? Yes, we are expecting the state government officials, Maharashtra CM, Deputy CM will be there, along with Piyush Goyal, the central minister, who also hails from Mumbai. He also will be there, and close family friends. And we have been given to understand that Amit Shah will also attend the last rites of Mr. Ratan Tata. What will happen now? So you can see in the visuals that the hearse is ready, and at any moment the hearse will basically leave this NCPA, which is National Performing Center for Arts, and it will reach Worli via coastal route. Usually it takes 30 minutes if they go via normal route, but
right, Mayuresh, and we'll keep coming back to you for further updates. An extraordinary life led by an extraordinary human being. These are the visuals of Mr. Ratan Tata. His mortal remains now being shifted to the Worli crematorium. Quick break right here. News and updates continue with my colleague Chrisween. Keep watching.
Lights!
Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but J.R.D. Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself.
All right, we return with the live visuals coming in from NCPA in Mumbai and the last journey of Ratan Tata, which several in Mumbai are witnessing, they're a part of today. Now, we've been talking about the man, Ratan Tata, the exemplary contribution not just to the business world, but how he's taken our entire nation forward. Nation building has been integral to his journey, and that's what is being spoken of by one and all who have been remotely associated with him, who've been in the know-how of his works, his contribution, and all of that being witnessed in Mumbai as we speak. Live visuals coming in from the NCP, and now we're learning that his mortal remains are being taken to the Worli crematorium. My colleague Yesha joining us with more details. Top celebrities, politicians, all present to pay their last tributes. Yesha, tell us a little bit about what we can expect in the next few minutes.
So yes, in fact, the entire road leading to Worli has now been cordoned off for the first of Ratan Tata to be taken all the way from NCPA via Coastal Road towards Worli. In fact, the visuals that you see all the way along Marine Drive is something that is rarely witnessed here, right here in this case. All the Mumbaikars who come to pay tribute, those who could not go inside the NCPA have now waited along the Marine Drive to pay their last tributes to him. In fact, while his earth would be taken all the way to Worli, there's a police convoy that will be following. Apart from that, of course, we also saw Shantanu Naidu leading the entire convoy on his bike. In fact, ever since this morning, Shantanu Naidu, who was someone who had in fact been with Ratan Tata for the last couple of years, sharing their stories, sharing glimpses of the simple life that Ratan Tata lived. And he would always support him as a dear friend, was there today ever since this morning, right from his residence until now, leading all the way to Worli, a dear friend that we can see. And amidst the convoy also there was a car which had two dogs in them, showing the kind of support and the social life that Ratan Tata lived. He carries and cherishes that also as he walks, also as his mortal remains, he walked past Mumbai for one last time. In fact, several thousands of people have gathered across both the stretches, both the ends of Marine Drive as his convoy passes by. In fact, ever since this morning, we saw thousands of Mumbaikars gather on the streets. These Mumbaikars had gathered. Not only these Mumbaikars were here to pay tributes. However, considering there was paucity of time, by 3:30 was where the cops were asked to shut the gates for civilians to pay tribute to Ratan Tata. Is where we saw that that those who could not pay tributes, almost thousands of them. In fact, now as we see, the hearse has stepped out from the NCPA. It will walk past Marine Drive all the way on the Coastal Road. In fact, several top cops are seen walking next to the hearse. That in fact shows while the hearse is flanked by cops on both the ends, thousands of Mumbaikars waiting to pay last tribute to him. It shows the kind of life he lived, the kind of simple life he lived, and he touched thousands of them. Despite being an industrialist, despite being someone in the top ranks, as the house is flanked by cops, it is also thousands of Mumbaikars who want to catch a glimpse of him for one last time, and salute his contribution towards the society. In fact,
Yes.
Across the entire Marine Drive, there are chants of Dada Amar Rahe across Marine Drive, and this is something that is rarely witnessed, in the history of Mumbai. It is, at Marine Drive is where you see several people, several celebrations that take place. It's only for a few that one witnesses something like.
And the impression he left in the minds and hearts of the people, not just associated, with the business world, but across. We've seen that play out today, and we can see it in the eyes of the people who've been there, present at the NCPA to pay their last respects to Mr. Tata. But stay on with us, Yasha. I'll come back to you in just a bit. We have Sanjay Baru, political commentator and also former media advisor to Manmohan Singh, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Sanjay Baru, one is short of words when we talk about his journey, his contribution. Nation building has been so very integral to his values, and he's in fact shown it in action. He's walked the talk. When we talk about Mr. Tata, what we think of is a perfect blend of corporate growth with nation building. It's not easy to achieve all that he has, and the number of people who are out there to pay him last respect speaks volumes in itself.
Ratan Tata was a was a human being to begin with. Before we think of him as a businessman or an industrialist, he was a fine gentleman, a truly compassionate individual. And I think that's very rare in Indian business. You have far too many greedy businessmen misusing whatever opportunities, political opportunities are available to build their empires. At a time when Indian business is focused entirely on its own wealth generation, on its own empire building, I think Ratan Tata symbolized a businessman with a heart. His contribution to industry was as important, as significant as his contribution to philanthropy, to education, to social development. And I think it is that combination of a commitment to business, to globally competitive business, and at the same time a commitment to development of our own society that made Ratan Tata a very rare businessman. There are not too many people like him around. And I think that is why we pay tribute to him in the manner we are today. You look at the kind of outpouring which you have mentioned in Bombay, the ordinary people coming and paying their respect. He had come to symbolize a kind of capitalism with a heart, and I think that is something which is quite unique. The Tata Group itself has come to symbolize brand India. If you look at the world today and say, what are the Indian brands that are recognized in other parts of the world? I can only think of three at the moment. It is Tata, Bajaj, and Infosys, and maybe Airtel. But there are not too many Indian companies that have made their mark internationally. And I think Mr. Tata really took the business that he inherited from his uncle to the global place.
And Mr. Baru, just like any other human being, just like any other businessman, we've seen him through the ups and downs, isn't it? If we go through his story, through his career, there's so much that he's seen as a person. And with the growth graph, that sure was bound to happen. But he's shown resilience, he's shown adaptability, and only grown with those little setbacks that have come his way.
Absolutely. In fact, I keep saying that Ratan Tata is steel within velvet. There was a steely resolve in him. If you see the way in which he took charge of the company, which he inherited from his uncle in 1991. And it was an interesting moment because on the one hand, the Tata Empire was a highly decentralized empire with a lot of powerful individuals running the company in different parts of the country. And once Mr. J.R.D. Tata removed himself from the scene, handing over the company to his nephew, Ratan Tata was in some ways at sea. But at the same time, 1991 was a significant milestone because that was the year in which Narasimha Rao, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, liberalized the Indian economy, ended the license permit control Raj.
Yes.
And the businessmen who benefited from that Raj.
The list is endless. The list is absolutely endless, Mr. Baru. And on that note, since you're speaking of a few qualities that need to be emphasized on, we have Mr. K. Ganesh, Big Basket founder, with us on the phone line. Mr. Ganesh, because he's inspired a whole new generation, young entrepreneurs who've always sought his feedback, they've looked up to his vision. Do you think he's succeeded in that to an extent that, he's come across as a role model for generations ahead now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great loss. As far as the startup ecosystem is concerned, he was extremely encouraging. As you know, he had done angel investments, the small investments across multiple startups, but just the founders going, taking pictures with him, putting on their website that Ratan Tata has invested is such an inspiring thing for the founders. One of my companies, Bluestone, the online jewelry company, he was a very early angel investor. Okay, the fact that Ratan Tata invested in the company also helped the company to position that it's a trusted entity. That was one. The other opportunity I have seen very closely is his passion for automotives and cars. One of the companies I'm closely involved with, called JM Automotives in Coimbatore, does design of cars. He, even at very late stage, could reel out the specifications of Tata Nano or this like anybody else, better than anybody else, never referring to notes, all the specs. It was in his heart. Automotive was his passion, and clearly today's success of Tata Motors, a lot of it is owed to passenger cars and automotive, is owed to his vision. So that was a great thing. From my side, my first job post-engineering was in Tata Motors, what was at that time called as Telco, Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company. So if my first paycheck came from Tata Company, Tata Motors. That was one. Of course, later, pretty recently, when Tata's acquired 2/3 of Big Basket, 66% they own. Again, it was a whole life coming all around to me.
But can
He
you
really
can
will
you
be
tell
missed.
us a few
Yeah.
stories, Mr. K. Ganesh, of whatever interaction you had with him back in the day of, when you were associated with Tata Motors? How would he back then inspire the youngsters, the youth, all of those who had big dreams? Because when he had set his eyes on something, he surely knew that he's going to go for it. He would pursue it. Did he ask, the younger generations as well to imbibe that one aspect, one quality to how they look at their career?
Yeah, actually, I'm a very old person. So when I joined Tata Motors, I was at the entry-level engineer, and at that time, Ratan Tata's experience and exposure was involved specifically with Nelco, which is another Tata company which is in electronics. He was not in Tata Motors. But more importantly, when he made the move for transitioning Tata Motors or Telco at the time from a truck company to a passenger car company, that was 100% his vision. Like steel was in the previous generation, Tata Steel, and even Tata Trucks were a previous generation. The legacy of Ratan Tata in the automotive is really in the area of passenger cars. So you see that. Two, when they acquired Jaguar Land Rover, iconic British brand, iconic brand. It's almost like reverse East India Company. Each Indian swelled with pride that now the iconic Jaguar Land Rover is owned by Indian company. That was inspiration. Plus, like I mentioned, he knew back of his hand each of the detailed specifications of automotive. That really was his passion. So, from encouraging entrepreneurs and startups to going after passion, which automotive cars was a great thing. At specifically Telco or Tata Motors, when I was an engineer, I was too junior to have any interaction whatsoever with him. I happily met him, spent a lot of time with him in JM Automotives Limited, Coimbatore company, where he used to visit all the way from Mumbai to Coimbatore just to see the developments going on in J. Anand, JM Automotives Limited, to see how it's shaping. So a lot of personal time and effort purely because of passion. Otherwise, why would a person who is chairman of Tata Sons would actually fly all the way to Coimbatore to spend time with a R&D company in automotive space? Pure passion.
Mr. K. Ganesh, we're keeping up with these visuals coming in from Mumbai of his final journey, but I do want to ask you, since you may have interacted with several people, including Mr. Ratan Tata, yourself, but you may have heard stories from your colleagues, etc. We've heard that he was an extremely private person, that he liked interacting with people in private settings, be it employees, customers, etc. But there's a quality in him wherein he could also build strong friendships and mutual connections despite being this private person. Is that right? Were you, witness to that side of his?
Yeah, I was very close witness to it, specifically with former Formula 3 racing champion J. Anand, the company JM Automotives Limited referred to. He was very close to him. They worked together and used to think about sports car, building high performance car, and there was the initiative of Tata Nano being built there with electric attachment, all of that. And he developed a very close friendship with J. Anand. He used to treat him as his own son, advise him, and have discussions with him. So when he was a very private person, but when he decided to reach out with people or engage with people, it was a pretty in-depth, meaningful relationship. And I have seen this as close quarters with J. Anand and himself in JM Automotive.
Okay, many thanks, Mr. K. Ganesh, for sharing all those very special stories. Makes us wonder what his life was all about, not having had personal interactions yet. Hearing all these great stories speaks volumes of the man he truly was. And yes, several episodes of his career are being remembered today. People's personal experiences are being spoken of across the country. And if we go by these visuals as well, the manner in which top celebrities, big faces in the political landscape, not just limited to Maharashtra but across the country, have flown down to Mumbai to pay their last respects to Mr. Ratan Tata. He's the man who he dreamt big and then pursued those dreams with passion, with purpose, and most importantly, with patience. I want to go across to my colleague Mayuresh, who continues to stay on with us. Mayuresh, what do we make of these live visuals coming in? I do see Union Minister Piyush Goyal and Home Minister Amit Shah as well in the frame.
Absolutely, that we have been given to understand that they will also attend the final rites of Mr. Ratan Tata, which will happen at the crematorium in Worli area of Mumbai. Just few minutes back, his mortal remains were taken towards the Worli crematorium via coastal road, and we have been given to understand by the authorities that within next 10 to 15 minutes, they will reach at Worli Parsi crematorium. Now, once they reach there, there will be a prayer, the Parsi prayer, which will happen, and it will take at least 45 to 50 minutes, and after that, the actual final rites will happen. That particular prayer will happen in the prayer hall of the crematorium. The capacity of that prayer hall is somewhere around 200 people, and that's why the entry has been restricted only to VVIPs, family members, and close relatives and family friends. And common people will not get entry in this particular crematorium to attend the last rites of Mr. Ratan Tata. Back to you.
Okay, all right. So, final journey that is underway as we speak, and his mortal remains being taken to the Worli crematorium. And like Mayuresh also pointed out, the likes of Home Minister Amit Shah and Piyush Goyal are also going to be present at the Worli crematorium during his final rites. But yes, tributes pouring in for Iron Man Ratan Tata, several leaders taking to social media to say all great things, remember him as the best version of a man who's set so many examples and the right examples for our country, for the future generation. Remember, he's played a pivotal role in shaping the Tata Group, Indian business at large, all of those contributions today being praised, being lauded. It's one to remember for the ages. He, remember, led Tata Sons as chairman from 1991 until his retirement in 2012, which is a long time in itself. He chaired the Ratan Tata Trust, the Dorabji Tata Trust, two of the largest philanthropic trusts in the country. And that is the other side to him, which is being spoken of, how not only was he a visionary business leader, but true humble human being as well. He began his studies into architecture, engineering before joining India's biggest business house in 1962, and then of course became in charge in 1991 till about 2012. He was recognized with numerous awards, including India's second highest civilian award, the Padma Vibhushan in 2008, for the contributions both to the industry and philanthropy. And we've been talking about the several experiences that people have had with him, the stories that they remember him by, how he closely followed his passion, how he would interact with young entrepreneurs and motivate them and guide them through their career. He's been credited, remember, with driving the growth, globalization of Tata Group, which obviously made him not only the most powerful businessman in India, but one of the most influential business tycoons in the world. And like I said, he took full control of the vast Tata empire in 1991 when he was first appointed the chairman of Tata Sons and Tata Trust. But the manner in which we've seen not just his family members, but several respected individuals in the country admire him, respect him, speaks volumes of the man he truly was. He's no longer with these people, but all of them who've come out, spoken to the media, given their brief experience, shared their brief experience with Mr. Ratan Tata, have all said that he was a man who's left legacy of humility, generosity, purpose, and it will continue to inspire future generations. Remember, this news came in late last night, but his contributions being spoken of ever since. Business leaders also reflecting on Ratan Tata's contributions across India, across sectors. We've seen how they're speaking of the immense influence he had on both business and society. All those aspects being spoken of. Yasha, my colleague, continues to stay on with us. Yasha, we keep up with these visuals coming in live from the Worli crematorium. How soon can we expect the last rites to begin?
So a green corridor was again made all the way from NCPA until Worli for Ratan Tata's convoy. So now that it reaches approximately 5 p.m. is where we're expecting the last rites to take place out of Ratan Tata. In fact, we've also seen the Union Home Minister Amit Shah was present at NCPA He's headed to Worli now for the last rite. In fact, this is the same place where we saw last rites of Cyrus Mystery also take place. Now here, of course, considering that Ratan Tata follows Zoroastrianism, is where we see that his last rites would be done according to the culture. Of course, all this, as far as the traditional culture is concerned, when it comes to parties, they usually have the last rites take place at the Tower of Silence. However, with this new crematorium that's set up in Worli over the last decade, is where we are seeing that now the last rites will take place here, not according to the Hour of Silence rituals, but according to new customs during its cremation will take place. Here, of course, at Worli is where we are seeing several close family members and relatives, friends who would now be heading to Worli. In fact, Ratan Tata's host would be reaching Worli anytime now, and following which the last rites will take place in the next half an hour or an hour. In fact, the kind of support that we saw Ratan Tata receive as his convoy left from Marine Drive was in fact heartwarming in itself. Thousands of Mumbaikars, they followed his ambulance while it walked past Marine Drive for one last time. In fact, he was flanked by the police convoy on as well. This kind of, in fact, showed the life he lived, that of a top industrialist, but top industrialist, but also someone who was close to the hearts of several Mumbaikars, not only Mumbaikars, but people across the country who tried to reach out to even those in the remotest part, and also the lower middle class. So, that kind of a support that Ratan Tata received is only rare when you speak of Mumbai, where thousands of people gathered on the marine drives on both the sides to pay last tribute to him as his mortal remains left from NCP. Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely. His contribution in taking Indian business forward, making it reach global heights is being spoken of. But what is as much being spoken of is what you just spoke of, Yasha, which is his commitment to social responsibility. His influence extended far beyond business, and anyone and everyone who's had an experience with Mr. Ratan Tata, who've had stories to share about him, have agreed to the same. How he was highly dedicated to corporate social well-being and sustainability. In fact, his foundation, Tata Trust, one of India's largest charitable organizations, has taken several measures to provide scholarships to students, support projects related to healthcare, education, rural development, sustainable living. All of that was very, very close to his heart. And how several stories have also been shared about his contribution during that very tough COVID-19 period. When India was battling COVID-19, he donated 500 crore rupees or more perhaps when the world was fighting the brutalities of the pandemic, of the virus. He also donated $50 million to his alma mater, Harvard Business School, for building an executive center. Apart from this, several donations that have gone to medical centers, educational initiatives as well that have been announced by Mr. Ratan Tata. And like we've all been discussing, in the aftermath of the deadly N18L terrorist attack in Mumbai as well, he founded the Taj Public Service Welfare Trust to support the victims and their families get rehabilitated. Those are just some of the many contributions that he's made for the benefit of the larger mankind, and just to put this point across that humanity truly does exist still. So his philanthropic efforts have earned him numerous praises. His business acumen, of course, based on the philosophy that the success of a company is linked to welfare of the society, and that's what really made him stand apart from the others who, of course, continue to create wealth, generate wealth for our country. But here truly was a man who worked very differently, functioned very differently, and that's why he's being remembered today as a legend. Several reactions have come in, including from top politicians in our country. Let's quickly play them out.
रतन टाटा न केवल देश में एक उद्योगपति के नाम पे परिचित थे, वो देश की परिचय भी थे। टाटा हमारी देश की नवरत्न में एक है। उनकी सारे कारोबार एक सामाजिक उद्देश्य से होता है। रतन टाटा इसी समय में उसकी एक मिसाल थे। मेरा सौभाग्य रहा मैं कुछ समय उनके साथ बिताए भी हूँ। उनके विचार, मैं मेरे विचार उनके साथ में भी रखा हूँ। बहुत ही सहज, साधारण और एकदम स्नेहिल व्यक्ति आदरणीय रतन टाटा थे। उनके निधन से देश को नुकसान हुआ। मैं ईश्वर के सामने प्रार्थना करता हूँ, रतन टाटा जी जिस मूल्यों को लेके चले, जो विचार को लेके चले, हमारे देश की विकास में वो विचार सदैव प्रासंगिक रहे।
कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया है देश के लिए, वो अमूल्य है। इट्स प्राइसलेस एंड
And we continue to keep up with these live images coming in as well. In fact, just a few moments ago, Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, who's very much been present in Mumbai, in fact, he's going to be attending the final rites at the Worli Crematorium as well, took to social media and he said, I've joined millions of Indians to grieve the sad demise of Ratan Tata ji. Also laid a wreath on behalf of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. He says Ratan Tata ji will always be remembered as a beacon of patriotism and integrity. As an industrialist respected across the world, he steered Tata Group into global prominence. His life and commitment to the nation stands as a pole star in India's industrial landscape. Of course, remembering his journey in Tata Group, how he ensured clean corporate governance, adhered to rules, made efforts to build a better society through Tata Trust. All of that has been spoken of by Home Minister Amit Shah, who penned a little note for Ratan Tata on social media. And these are visuals coming in live from Worli Crematorium, where his last rites the full state honours being given to Shri Ratan Tata ji, and he passed away last night after being admitted to Mumbai's Breach Candy Hospital. His passing at 86 years old, and what a life this man has lived. It's been spoken of not just in India but worldwide. Not just known as a prominent business tycoon, but a success story being remembered today, which has impacted India's economy. And if we go by the title, really, remember, for the longest time he's been remembered as the chairman of Tata Group, stayed the chairman of Tata Group for more than 2 decades when he retired at the age of 75 in 2012. Yasha continues to stay on with us on the phone line as we keep up with these live visuals coming in from the Worli Crematorium. Yasha, a man of deep commitment, a man...
हलू नका All right, full state honours for Ratan Tata by the Mumbai police, and that's really the visual set coming in from Worli Crematorium in Mumbai. This opportunity, of course, being used to really remember the man for his significant contributions that are never ever perhaps going to be forgotten in this country. His extraordinary life, his legacy, all of that being spoken of. In fact, we've been going through several reports. We've been going by
testimonies of people who've been in the know-how of the experience that Ratan Tata not only brought to the table but has left for generations to remember. And there are some very interesting stories, anecdotes that should be spoken of. One is, of course, his experience as the chairperson of the Tata Group, and how through and through that tenure of 2 decades, he firmly believed in social work, and in fact led by example when it comes to that. There are also very interesting visuals, remember, of when he missed meeting UK's Prince Charles to take care of his dog, and all of those visuals being pulled off today really, because it talks about the simplicity with which Mr. Ratan Tata went ahead with what he truly believed in. Remember how when Ratan Tata allowed free entry to stray dogs at the iconic Taj Mahal Hotel, the Bombay House, his love for animals is also being spoken of widely today. But Yasha continues to stay on with us. Yasha, as we continue to remember Mr. Ratan Tata for the exemplary work, the contributions, not just in the business domain, but also in the society at large, social work being, one of his biggest priorities. You've been able to speak to a few people who have come to pay their last respects. I will go across to Yasha in just a bit to try and convey the message that people have had for him, how they remember him. But yes, these visuals continue to come in, and you do see, I think that's Jyotiraditya Scindia ji also now walking in. We did see Home Minister Amit Shah along with Union Minister Piyush Goyal, who are also in attendance at Worli Crematorium, witnessing the last journey of Mr. Ratan Tata. Apart from this, like I was saying, the manner in which he's come out in support of those in need, families affected by 26/11 Mumbai attack. He showed his compassion by personally visiting each of the 80 employees who were affected by the attack. Not only that, his group also supported these families, financed the education of the children of all of those 80 families, and the humble manner in which he just went about with his daily routine. There are some very interesting stories, and my colleague Mayuresh joins us as well. Mayuresh, today is a day that we've seen people mourn his death, yes, but also talk about the several stories that made him stand apart from the rest, isn't it? I was just going to talk about an instance which, I'm coming across on social media, when he used to sit next to his driver, known for utmost humility, so much so that he was often spotted sitting right next to his driver in the car, and that people once again say reflects his values, his beliefs of equality, treating everyone with as much respect.
Absolutely, and the way you were telling about the 26/11 incident, after that he basically took care of those families and met those families. I have an experience that during the COVID, he had taken a very strong stand. He had also written and told his friends from the industries that though this is a tough time, but they should not sack anyone from their company, because this is a tough time, and in this time, the company should stay behind, or the company should back all those employees. And that was a very strong stand and a bold stand which he had taken, because a lot of companies were sacking their employees. Also, we have seen personally that when no one had opened their doors, even the restaurants were shut, everything was shut. Ratan Tata made sure that the restaurants of Taj Mahal will basically serve the needy and the people who, poor people basically, who are not finding it very easy to get at least one meal for the day. And literally, we have seen that the kitchen of Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai used to prepare food for 3,000, 4,000 people per day, and they used to serve it. So that kind of decisions he used to take, and his philosophy was very much simple, and that's what he had told in many of his interviews, that I should be remembered to contribute something for my country, for my nation, and for my people. And that was only one thing which I should be remembered. And now people remember him for many things. That his contribution towards...
Mayuresh, because you're talking about 26/11, the support that came in from him along with his trust. We're talking about COVID-19 pandemic, and we all know what the pandemic did to our country, the whole world. The second wave was so very brutal. But Ratan Tata not only provided financial aid at that point in time, but also was firmly against mass layoffs during COVID-19, which once again spoke of his humility.
Exactly, that's what I said, that he had written and to his all the friends from the industry, and he clearly said that this is a time that we should back our staff and we should not sack them. Though the time is very tough. Another great example is of Tata Education Trust as well as the TIS in Mumbai, where Tata is basically Ratan had to intervene when they were feeling crunch for the funds, and the time had come that somewhere they wanted to curb many courses in TIS, but Ratan Tata intervened in that. He made sure that the funds from his personal account will be given to them to continue this particular institute and the courses. Also, if we talk about contribution of Tata Cancer Hospital, you remember that every day thousands of people are coming, they are getting treated. Cancer treatment is not that, it's very expensive, if you remember, if you know. And it was very much clear that a common man, a person who will very much, he should be taking a good treatment for the cancer, and he should not have to basically run from pillar to post to get the treatment. And with that aim, he always supported Tata Cancer Hospital, and now people from across India are coming every day to getting the cancer treatment over there, and many people who are receiving the treatment, they are just giving blessings to Mr. Ratan Tata and his entire family for this gesture which they have done.
Absolutely, and there are so many other things that need to be spoken of, contributions that need to be lauded. You know, the manner in which he cared for the less fortunate, the manner in which he understood the needs of the middle class and drove some initiatives that would in fact help advantage the middle class. And Tata Nano is one such introduction, and experts have been speaking about it. He did keep wealth, profits aside and solely made that decision and several other such decisions based on what the need of the society was, Mayuresh, which is rarely the case anymore.
Absolutely, because his aim was very much clear, his vision very much clear, that I want to do something for the common people of my country, and keeping budget as low as rupees 1 lakh for one particular car which is indigenously made. It was a really great vision. Yes, he faced many hurdles in this entire process, from that he had to shift his plant from
Okay, seem to have lost Mayuresh's line, but we keep up with these visuals coming in from Worli Crematorium, where the last rites of Ratan Tata currently underway. And on your screens, viewers, are also some of the quotes of what some of the big names across the country, be it from the political sphere or celebrities, the Bollywood industry, Tollywood, everybody today remembering Mr. Ratan Tata for the significant contributions he's made, not just to businesses in India, but also to the entire society at large. How he was so very humble, widely loved and respected for his humility. Yesha continues to stay on with us as well. Yesha, take us through some of the heartwarming moments that you have come across, because you've been speaking to a lot of people who've been, at the NCMA the last few hours to pay their last tributes to Mr. Ratan Tata. Tell us a little bit about the experiences, the small stories, anecdotes that they really had to share with you.
So, among the people, we met outside the NCPA, Shantanu Naidu's story. In fact, Shantanu Naidu was someone we've all heard about, we've all read about, on various social media platforms. But today, the fact that that he was there leading the convoy all the way from his from Tata House to NCPA, in fact, meandering through the streets, speaking to cops, introducing himself as someone who was Ratan Tata's friend. We've heard so much, read so much about the fact that Shantanu Naidu and Tata, they shared a great bond. Both of them would interact, discuss various startup projects with each other. And it all started with the fact that that Shantanu Naidu wrote a letter to Ratan Tata with the idea for reflective belts for dogs. And that speaks warmly of the person that Ratan Tata was, considering the fact that that this young friend of his didn't want to leave his side even while his convoy was out from the NCPA. But apart from that, while of course his convoy was being taken out from NCPA, there were two dogs leading the convoy in a vehicle. That of course spoke so much about Ratan Tata as a person, about whom he worked for, and while he worked for them, of course it was very obvious, it was very evident that all of these people They wanted to give him that one last respect before his last rites could take place. So these small instances, in fact, that of the dog Goa, who was rescued by Ratan Tata from Goa. All of these have been anecdotes that people will speak about years from now as well. But of course, several people who gathered outside NCPA. There was a person who was a painter by profession, would say in a 10 by 10 kholi, the term that we use in Mumbai for a small house or a small hutment. Kholi, he used to stay in this kholi next to the Taj Mahal Palace. He was a painter by profession, and because he was staying in such a small place, Ratan Tata, who admired his work, in fact gave him that break, got his paintings installed in the Taj Mahal Palace, and also gave him a check to help him grow as a person. Today the same person was there to offer his last respects to Ratan Tata. There are so many such instances, so many such anecdotes that people came with, all of whose lives Ratan Tata had touched in their own way. And these were amongst those thousands of people. In fact, the crowd was so much that all the way from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m., there was crowds still pouring in. There were people still pouring in on the streets of Mumbai, some of whom could not even get inside the NCPA because of the kind of rush that the cops experienced, and which is where these people then waited at Marine Drive while Ratan Tata's horse was being taken to the Worli crematorium. So all of these people are in some way inspired by him. In fact, there were several youngsters who came with his portraits and pictures, speaking about how that Ratan Tata had touched their lives. So of course we saw that, be it young, be it old, be it millennials, be it Gen Zs, all of their lives were touched by Ratan Tata in some way or the other, either directly, indirectly, by reading about him, by speaking to him, or by meeting him. So though there were these people who would have sometimes hardly met him, they were just there because they wanted to offer that last respect to this man who worked for the country. In fact, even when his convoy was being taken all the way across Marine Drive, there were chants of Vande Mataram and Bharat Mata Ki Jai, showing the kind of contribution that Ratan Tata had for the country, and which is where we see people from across the sectors, be it industrialists, be it Bollywood celebrities, be it politicians, or for that matter, be his employees or common man. All of them gathered to pay last respect to Ratan Tata. And of course, this piece of the versatile personality that he was, though he was a person who was reserved, who was shy, who did not want his life to be public in a lot of ways, but the public personality that he was very evident even as his convoy walked last time across the Marine Drive.
Oh yes, absolutely. His contributions, his personality, everything that he's done, not just for our nation, but for the entire world, and sending out the right messages is what is making everyone remember Ratan Tata so very fondly today. Yasha, many thanks for joining us. We'll come back to you in just a bit with these live visuals from Mumbai. A quick break for now. We'll be right back.
Lights!
Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking, and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but JRD Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second largest tea business to just.
Welcome back as we keep up with these live visuals coming in from Worli Crematorium in Mumbai. Let's once again remind you of the several voices speaking about Ratan Tata, talking about his contributions to the society at large, talking about his achievements beyond the professional circles, how his personal values illustrate a character that can serve as a model for many. Several top voices of our country today echoing the same. Listen in.
Work together quite closely, travel together to the US, when the Americans came over, talk to them as well. And then I renewed my, relationship when I went to Singapore. There's a global recognition of Indian industry. I think Ratan Tata deserves that credit. So he implanted us very firmly, actually, in global consciousness. And I think those of us, particularly from the foreign policy side, we really owe him a great debt for that.
कुछ लोग आप उनको हमेशा मिलते नहीं हैं, बट उनका एहसास देश के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में नज़र आता है, देश के चैरिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन में नज़र आता है, देश के आबो हवा में नज़र आता है, अच्छाई में नज़र आता है. तो आज मैं कहूँगा कि देश ने अपना एक रत्न खो दिया है और उनका नाम था रतन टाटा. ये वैसे टाटा हैं जिनको कभी टाटा करने का दिल नहीं करेगा, बट उनकी लेगेसी अच्छाई की, गुडनेस की, चैरिटी की, प्रिंसिपल्स की, ऑथेंटिसिटी की, आई थिंक हमारे लिए एक प्रेरणात्मक स्रोत रहेगी. और उनका नाम हमेशा भारत में नहीं बल्कि पूरे विश्व में रोशन रहेगा, बिकॉज ही इज़ a symbol of goodness.
Lights! Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but J.R.D. Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second-largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself, in 2008, Ratan Tata launched the Tata Nano, his dream project of...
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. We keep up with these live visuals coming in from Burley Crematorium about Ratan Tata, the man, his journey being remembered very, very fondly today. His last rites are currently underway at the Burley Crematorium, and top politicians, big faces from have been paying their last respects. Remember, the last 3-4 hours since noon, we saw a huge gathering at the NCMA. Everybody gathered to essentially pay their last rites to Ratan Tata, who we've been speaking of since last night, viewers. The kind of passion he had for learning, how he possessed a curious mind. He was always eager to explore new technologies, social issues, culture, and he imbibed all of that and made it a point to reflect the same while bringing about tremendous changes in the society at large. The industry veterans have also reacted to his demise while fondly remembering him. Listen in.
Ratan Tata really brought India together in terms of India's industry. He created a vision for India to move forward, and that's the respect he gained amongst the entire industry. India will miss him greatly. He was somebody who built a strong and positive brand for India.
Earlier today, in fact, CS Sethi of SBI, Baba Kalyanian of Bharat Forge and Rajiv Bajaj of Bajaj Auto also offered their condolences to Ratan Tata. Listen in.
We share very deep relationship with SBI, and Tata Group share a deep relationship. And he has been, upheld the best practices of governance throughout his life, and the emulation of his corporate governance, I think, is the need of the hour for the whole corporate India. And as
Lights! Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but J.R.D. Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second-largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself, in 2008, Ratan Tata launched the Tata Nano, his dream project of small but super cheap cars for millions of Indians. It came to be known as the
देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा नुकसान है, not just for corporate India but for the country as a whole. I think the impact of his work is quite unparalleled, and I think we should remember him through the richness of his work. हम कई बार मिलते थे सालों पहले और हमें बहुत ज़्यादा सोबर थे, फ्रूगल थे और देश के हित में सोचते थे.
कंट्रीब्यूशन दिया है देश के लिए वो अमूल्य है. इट्स प्राइसलेस एंड बहुत ही रेयर किस्म के इंसान, और हम सब उनको बेहद मिस करेंगे.
Lights! Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but J.R.D. Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in
very good evening. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Akanksha Swaroop. Let's dive into this segment with our top focus of the day, and that is the mammoth loss that India has suffered. In fact, the entire globe has suffered, and that is the passing of the visionary, Ratan Tata. Remember, he passed away late on Wednesday evening. He was admitted due to a sudden deterioration in health. He was in fact admitted to the Breach Candy Hospital. Ever since, tributes have been pouring in, of course led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President Draupadi Murmu. We've seen how there's been a beeline of industrialists, politicians, all paying their last respects to Ratan Tata, the visionary, the philanthropist, the business tycoon, and overall the impeccable human being that Ratan Tata was. And today we've seen how his mortal remains were in NCPA, where in fact the Union Home Minister Amit Shah paid his last respects, as did the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, accompanied by Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis. Of course, we've also seen actors like Amir Khan accompanied by Kiran Rao, and equally importantly, the chairperson of Reliance Industries, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, accompanied by his entire family, Ms. Neeta Ambani, also his son Akash Ambani and daughter-in-law Shloka Mehta. All of them paid their tributes to the late Ratan Tata. As we all know that right now his mortal remains have arrived in Worli Crematorium. Remember, he's being accorded the state funeral over there, as you can see. The last rites to be taking place now. And for more inputs, let's quickly go across to Yesha Kotak, who's reporting live on this news story. Yesha, give us a sense of what's happening. Of course, the mood is extremely somber, but as many are saying that apart from mourning the loss, it is also a time to remember the man, the visionary, the industrialist that Ratan Tata was.
Absolutely, fairly so. You see all of to pay respect to this man who's worked so much for the country. I am right here at the Worli Crematorium. In fact, on both sides, you can see this convoy of the CM, the Deputy Chief Minister, and the Home Minister Amit Shah, which is inside. In fact, there are several other people who've also gathered to pay tributes to Ratan Tata. In fact, his ambulance is taken all the way from NCPA brought to this Worli Crematorium, where last rites are taking place. In fact, earlier, just a couple of minutes back, was where he was also given the state honours, as is mentioned by the Chief Minister. But also, like we saw at Marine Drive, there were people who gathered on both sides of the road to pay respect to him. Similar is the case at Worli. In fact, I'll ask my DJ Kal Sapre to show visuals of how there have been again thousands of people who gathered at Worli to pay last respects to Ratan Tata. Some who gathered right outside the crematorium, and others who gathered across the street to catch last glimpse of him and pay respect to him. So yes, we see that there are several people whose lives Ratan Tata has touched, and which is where all of these people have gathered to pay respect to them. Here, in fact, we see even now there are several ministers who are working in to ensure that they pay their respect to Ratan Tata. And here there's Industries show there someone is also making his way inside the Worli Crematorium.
Absolutely, and to factor in the popularity and the kind of magnanimity that accompanies the name Ratan Tata is very crucial, in fact, and that's why I want to ask you. Give us a sense of that connect that he had formed, not just with the Indian household as being an Indian household name. He also sort of bridged that gap between tradition and modernity by taking the Indian conglomerate like Tata to international shores. We've seen the kind of acquisitions that he sort of facilitated for India, making India, not just Tata, a global brand.
Absolutely. In fact, when you speak of the initiatives that he took forth, be it Starbucks, be it the Land Rover, Jaguar, all of these have been crucial and important projects that helped the Indian economy grow are something that took India towards a step of modernization. In fact, of course, we've seen that while around 1990s was where 1991 was where Ratan Tata took over as the chairperson of the Tata Sons. But ever since then, of course, he worked hard to ensure that not only in India, for matter, if you speak of projects that have been undertaken by him, which have been revolutionary in India, it could in fact start with all the way from his vision, wherein he wanted that even the middle class would have a car on them. But similarly, when you speak of his vision for the upper middle class, in the luxury segment, be it the acquisition with Zara, for that matter, getting Starbucks to India, or even for that matter, the Range Rover, the Land Rover and Jaguar. These are some segments that he in fact worked hard on ground level. All of these are the contributions that Ratan Tata worked on. But that was not all. When you speak of the different segments that we can attribute to Ratan Tata, right from Namak, Desh Ka Namak, when you speak of it, to a spoon, to a car, to a Range Rover, to airlines. There was no such industry, there was no such sector that remained untouched. Right from hospitality, when you speak of the brand Taj Mahal Palace, the hospitality that they would provide, not only for their guests, but also for praise. So all of these, add the touch that Ratan Tata wanted of faith in each and every endeavor that he had to. So, when you speak of these different initiatives that were undertaken under Ratan Tata, they continue even today. And when we see N. Chandrasekharan, who is current chairperson of Tata Sons, speak about this, saying that these are initiatives that Ratan Tata had taken, and the industry would want to continue it the same way that Ratan Tata wanted it to always.
Absolutely. It is the legacy that Ratan Tata has left behind, which perhaps will live on, and he will live on in our hearts and with that legacy forward. Going to request you, Yesha, to continue staying with us as we keep taking our viewers through all those live visuals that are coming in as India pays its last respects to the visionary that Ratan Tata was. On that note, let's also, in fact, take you through a reaction that has come in from a person who was very special to Ratan Tata, and I'm talking about the 30-year-old who was the assistant to Ratan Tata, Shantanu Naidu. Remember, he's stormed the entire internet with a very touching and poignant post for Ratan Tata, where he's referred to Ratan Tata as his lighthouse, the mentor that Ratan Tata was to Shantanu Naidu. Let's listen in to what Shantanu Naidu has to say.
Shantanu, describe Mr. Ratan Tata in one word.
Kind.
One trait that you have displayed perhaps to have had this journey at the Tata Group.
Curiosity.
I feel like if the world were a binary or a spectrum right now, you would have Elon Musk on one end and Mr. Ratan Tata on the other. A lot of young people today, millennials, Gen Z, would sort of gravitate towards Elon Musk's way of life and way of work. What sort of brings in a person like you to understand more the values and sort of what Mr. Ratan Tata actually stands for?
I think it's more generational than just Mr. Tata. There's been 5 generations of my family. I'm the 5th generation who is working for the Tatas. All the generations before me had regular general roles like an engineer here or a maintenance engineer there, starting from my great-grandfather. So to see all the values planted in an individual won't be the right way to look at it, especially when it comes to the Tata Group. I think it has been a legacy that's been handed down so much, and my family, having been exposed to that over generations, has sort of allowed us to appreciate and respect that more, or have that as a central value system for our family as well. So I think that overlapping legacy where we have always respected and revered the Tatas through not 1 or 2 but 5 generations puts it in a different perspective for us of who we would like to.
There's a lot of younger folks today who would give an arm and a leg to be in the position you are in, to be at in midst of this vast pool of not just resources but also knowledge and wisdom. If you were to talk to me about a couple of traits that led you to this position, which ones would those be?
I think if it all started with the story of motorpoles, it was one was technical and one was emotional. The technical one, which I love to tell people, is that a lot of people say, you ended up where you ended up because you were in the right place at the right time. And I say, yes, absolutely. That's the absolute correct answer, which means that you just need to put yourself in as many situations as possible for you to strike the right one.
We have Narayan Murthy's 72-hour work in a week compared to one that was mentioned in your book as well, where you said that one of the times that you were really held up by Mr. Tata was for actually making calls late in the night.
Right.
So where does that fit in?
I think there cannot be a singular answer because company cultures, entrepreneurship cultures, individual cultures dictate the life of an employee. So for someone to say you should work for these many hours or you shouldn't, and then applying as a blanket rule across companies that have different cultures would not be right. So at the risk of sounding diplomatic, it really comes down to each company and its own culture. If you asked my personal preference, of course, there should be a balance. But if you asked if I myself have balance, no, I personally like to fill in my life with a lot of things. At the same time, I do not like to transfer that on to juniors or people younger to me or in the startup, because I want to give them the right idea of knowing that a job is what you do and it's not who you are.
All right, let's quickly now go back to Yesha, who continues to stay with us. She's currently stationed outside the Worli crematorium. And Yesha, if I could bring you in on that reaction that's come in from Shantanu Naidu, in an age which actually adulates the likes of an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos or a Mark Zuckerberg. I think Shantanu Naidu is testimony to the popularity of Ratan Tata among the young and how he continued to mentor them beyond the boardroom.
Absolutely. In fact, the whole story about Shantanu Naidu and Ratan Tata's friendship is something that we saw take over the social media, in fact, largely. And more so, the idea that Ratan Tata would take from him, would take his suggestions on a startup that he should fund, is something that, of course, everyone has heard about. But what has been testimony, in fact, this has been a testimony for us as well while we were there at Tata House, while we were present outside NCPA. This very person who was the young friend of Ratan Tata stood to him today throughout his last journey across Mumbai. In fact, of course, people know Shantanu Naidu on social media. We were definitely the fact that the cops did not know who Shantanu Naidu was. When he was leading this whole convoy, he was stopped by them and, he politely explained as to who he was and made his way inside. This person who, in fact, referred to Ratan Tata as his lighthouse was the one who was leading the convoy throughout the day today. As a person who was with Ratan Tata throughout. In fact, there have been several instances where we've seen him share glimpses of Ratan Tata's life, of a simple life that Ratan Tata would live, right from celebrating Ratan Tata's birthday with him in a very simple way to leading today. In fact, visuals of Shantanu Naidu have also gone viral today, where we've seen him leading as a pilot the entire convoy since morning, be it for that matter outside the Tata House, or for that matter after that all the way from NCPA. So all of these instances are something that define the kind of bond, the camaraderie that both of them had. Now, in fact, speaking of the rituals that are taking place inside, we see the convoy of Amit Shah as well as the Chief Minister N18L to be leaving from this very place anytime now. Both of them, after paying respect to Ratan Tata at
Yesha, going to request you to continue staying with us. Let me also quickly go across to Mayuresh, who's joining me on the phone line. Mayuresh, give us a sense of what is exactly happening, considering the mortal remains of Ratan Tata remain in that prayer hall at the Worli crematorium. Who all are there in attendance? We are learning that the Union Home Minister, accompanied by Mr. Piyush Goyal, all of them are right now in that prayer hall. Tell us about the presence that's there.
basically this prayer hall where the prayer will happen for next 45 minutes. You can see the visuals also. Amit Shah, Eknath Shinde, Piyush Goyal, Devendra Fadnavis, Gujarat CM Bhupender Patel also paid the last respect there. And in some time they will leave this prayer hall because the prayers will happen in the presence of family, relatives, and close friends. So it will be a very private affair which the family wants to keep. So we have been given to understand that they will leave in some time. That's what even Yashka was indicating. And after that, 45 minutes the prayers will happen, and then the last rites will be performed at the same crematorium.
Absolutely, and ever since that news actually broke of the passing of Ratan Tata, we've seen the beeline of celebrities from across various industries, not just, in fact, politicians, but celebrities from the entertainment industry. And of course, we've seen how tycoons, whether it is Mr. Ambani or in fact, the Infosys head as well, we've seen people queue up only to pay their last respects. Give us, or share with us all those tributes that have poured in ever since Ratan Tata passed away. Mayuresh, can you hear me? All right, let me quickly go back to Yesha. In fact, Yesha, if you could share with us some very important tributes that have come in condoling the death of Ratan Tata. We've seen, in fact, even Prime Minister and President Draupadi Murmu take to the social media to share this sense of loss that they are experiencing.
This morning, when there was the cabinet meeting that was held, in fact, there was a state mourning that was declared. But apart from that, when the cabinet meeting took place, we saw that there was a silence that was maintained for Ratan Tata. In fact, when you speak of the Prime Minister himself, he as well, paid tribute. Took to social media late last night to pay tributes to Ratan Tata, wherein he mentioned him as a visionary business leader, compassionate soul, and an extraordinary human being. He spoke about his leadership. Now, of course, when you speak of Ratan Tata, his leadership is something that's always been spoken about. Ratan Tata, for that matter, always kept saying that a leader, follows whatever he suggests seems to follow, and that is what Ratan Tata, in fact, portrayed himself as a leader who follow what he asks others to preach. These have been some very popular. These have been some tributes that have come into him. In fact, when you speak of Sundar Pichai as well, he also paid tributes to Ratan Tata yesterday in a social media post. Right. So here, of course, we've seen that there have been several instances. In fact, when you speak of Sundar Pichai, he spoke about the last meeting he had with Ratan Tata at Google, the progress of Waymo, and his vision of inspiring to, and he also said that his vision was something that was inspiring to hear. All of these people, when you speak of the tributes that they paid to him, paid to Ratan Tata, one day, of course, spoken about him being a business leader, but somewhere or the other, all of them are focused on the philanthropic aspect of Ratan Tata. And, when you speak of his philanthropic aspect, it's something that's still being spoken about even now. And which
Absolutely.
is where we see that today.
Because this is the person who actually changed the way industries have been operating. And Yesha, going to request you to continue staying with us. But in fact, we are getting in some very important visuals over there. We are also showing, in fact, we can see that Union Home Minister Amit Shah is paying his last respects over there at the Worli Crematorium to Ratan Tata. And as Yesha has also been sharing with us that he'll be here for another few minutes, and then the mortal remains will be taken for the final funeral ceremony. And over there you can also see that the Union Minister for Commerce is also over there, Mr. Piyush Goyal, accompanied by the Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, flanked by the Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis, all of them accompanying the Union Home Minister over there as Ratan Tata is being accorded the state funeral. This is the Worli Crematorium. In fact, we will keep bringing you all those visuals and everything that's happening as the nation, in fact, fact pays its homage to Ratan Tata. Let's also listen in to all the reactions that have come in from the entertainment industry. Remember, we've seen earlier during the day Amir Khan and his wife and filmmaker Kiran Rao also arrived to pay their homage to Ratan Tata. Let's listen in to all those celebrity reactions that have come in.
कुछ लोग आप उनको हमेशा मिलते नहीं हैं, बट उनका एहसास देश के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में नज़र आता है, देश के चैरिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन में नज़र आता है, देश के आबो हवा में नज़र आता है, अच्छाई में नज़र आता है. तो आज मैं कहूँगा कि देश ने अपना एक रत्न खो दिया है और उनका नाम था रतन टाटा. ये वैसे टाटा हैं जिनको कभी टाटा करने का दिल नहीं करेगा, बट उनकी लेगेसी अच्छाई की, गुडनेस की, चैरिटी की, प्रिंसिपल्स की, ऑथेंटिसिटी की, आई थिंक हमारे लिए एक प्रेरणात्मक स्रोत रहेगी. और उनका नाम हमेशा भारत में नहीं बल्कि पूरे विश्व में रोशन रहेगा, बिकॉज ही इज़ अ सिंबल ऑफ गुडनेस.
देश के लिए बहुत बड़ा नुकसान है, नॉट जस्ट फॉर corporate India, but for the country as a whole. I think the impact of his work is quite unparalleled, and I think we should remember him through the richness of his work. हम कई बार मिलते थे सालों पहले, और हमें बहुत ज़्यादा सोबर थे, फ्रूगल थे, और देश के हित में सोचते थे.
All right, the latest shots, in fact, going on to show the tight security arrangement also. But amid this tight security arrangement, what you can see is how the general public has thronged in full force at the Worli crematorium, only to catch a last glimpse of the man, the wonderful human being, the visionary, the luminary that Ratan Tata was. As we've been telling you, this is someone who's in fact known for having that connect between the common man and going all the way up to all the governments. We've seen the kind of tributes that have been led by Prime Minister Modi and also President Draupadi Murmu to industry heavyweights like Mr. Mukesh Ambani, to even Kumar Mangalam Birla, all of them taking to social media, also many of them in fact arriving in person to pay their last respects to Ratan Tata. As we all know that Mr. Tata had not been keeping well in the last few days. He passed away late on Wednesday evening at the Breach Candy Hospital, and ever since the news of his passing broke, not just the entire country, but reactions continue to pour in from all over the globe, because as far as the Tata brand is concerned, it was Ratan Tata who sort of sealed the brand, the fate of the brand, made it or took it from Indian households all the way to international shores. We've seen the kind of international acquisitions that took place under Tatas, and we've seen that happen in the case of Core Steel. We've seen that happen in the case of Tetley. Most importantly and well known is in fact the name of the Land Rover Jaguar acquisition that was facilitated by Ratan Tata. Even though he's known as the emeritus chairperson of the Tata Group, the fact that Tata as a brand grew so much during the liberalization period in the 90s, he created a name also because of the kind of ethical practices that he brought, also the kind of change that he ushered in as far as capitalism is concerned, making it a more generous form of capitalism. Let's quickly go back to Yesha, who continues to stay with us. Yesha, give us a sense of what's happening right now at the Worli crematorium. We can see how the public, in fact, wants to catch a last glimpse of Ratan Tata.
In fact, we see visuals from the Worli crematorium right here, and all those who were present across the street. In fact, there are still hundreds of people waiting across the street. They have all moved inside the crematorium now. In fact, we now try and we also now try and hear
Kumar Mangalam Birla
of Ratan Tata.
And you know, I think his purpose was to take forward the Tata Group and contribute to the nation's growth through that.
And what do you have to say about the successes? How can they carry forward?
You know, I think there's such a rich legacy. I'm sure that they will know exactly how to take it forward.
Thank you so much.
उनके लॉस को आप किस तरीके से देखते हैं सर, उनके डेथ को? क्योंकि
भारत के लिए लॉस है, सिर्फ इंडस्ट्री के लिए नहीं, पर उन्होंने इतना काम किया, इतनी फिलहालफी की, इतना डोनेशन देते थे, इतने ट्रस्ट में उनका काम होता।
Lights! Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but JRD Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from JRD Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second-largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself, in 2008, Ratan Tata launched the Tata Nano, his dream project of small but super cheap cars for millions of Indians. It came to be known as the people's car due to its affordable pricing. The project hit a roadblock in Singur and had to shift to Gujarat. In December 2012, he stepped down as chairman of Tata Sons after 50 years with the Tata Group and was appointed chairman emeritus of Tata Sons. A big backer of education and healthcare, Ratan Tata generously funded many philanthropic projects, prominent research institutes and cancer hospitals. After his retirement, not one to sit still, he quietly helped young and bright minds by investing millions in their startups. Ratan Tata's unconditional love for dogs is well known and he built a pet hospital in Mumbai. He is once said to have missed an invitation from Prince Charles because one of his pet dogs was ill. Even stray dogs were reportedly given free entry at the iconic Taj Mahal Hotel. Ratan Tata was awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 2008. Gentleman, to a fault, with his passing, India has lost one of its shining jewels that glittered for many decades and enriched millions of lives. It's truly the end of an era. Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University.
Welcome back. We're bringing you live visuals coming in from the Worli Crematorium where Ratan Tata's last rites are being performed with full state honors. And as you can see right now in those visuals is, of course, the tight security that has been deployed at the Worli Crematorium along with all those dignitaries who have paid their last respect so far, including the Home Minister Amit Shah, very much present, accompanied by the Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis, also Commerce Minister Mr. Piyush Goyal. Let's quickly go across to Yesha Kotak, who's been tracking all the details for us. Yesha, give us a sense of what's exactly happening right now and in how much time should we expect the last rites to be performed.
Being performed inside for Ratan Tata, following which the last rites would take place. We have Justice Minister Uday Samant with us. Sir, आप भी अंदर गए थे. रतन टाटा का जो एक लॉस है वो पूरे महाराष्ट्र नहीं पूरे भारत के लिए है. आई थिंक 10 मिनट आपकी कई बार बातचीत हुई रही उनसे. सर, एक क्या सेंस है, क्या लॉस हुआ है इंडिया को?
मैं उनके नज़दीक 2 साल पहले गया, लेकिन मैं इंडस्ट्री मिनिस्टर करके
मोबाइल नीचे लेना आराम से पढ़ाइए, आराम से कितने नाम सारा पाते मैडम थोड़ा पार्टी है ना, बोलिए
All right, a day of deep loss and mourning as you can see a 24-gun salute being accorded to Ratan Tata over there by the Maharashtra police. Those are live visuals coming in from the Worli crematorium as the nation bids adieu to the visionary, the luminary and the billionaire philanthropist that Ratan Tata was. Live visuals coming in of that 24-gun salute being accorded to Ratan Tata by the Maharashtra police. On the left side of your screens, you can see the state funeral now reaching its point of completion over there, and soon after this 24-gun salute that was accorded by the Maharashtra police, we know that the mortal remains of the late Ratan Tata will now be moved. Let's quickly go across to Yesha Kotak, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast. A very somber mood and a 24-gun salute, I think, is Maharashtra's way and perhaps the entire nation's way of bidding adieu to the Doyen, Ratan Tata. Yesha.
With this, the entire nation has given a very farewell to Ratan Tata. In fact, for the contributions that he had, not only in the space of businesses in the space of industries, but for his philanthropic side as well. In fact, even in the last instances we saw, it was the Union Home Minister who was present here, the Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister, and also the Industries Minister who were present here. Of course, we saw ever since this morning, there were thousands of people who came down on streets to give that farewell to Ratan Tata. But with this, of course, it is an end of an era in itself for a person who was a businessman with a heart, who thought and who in fact gave back to the society more than he could take from the society, which is where now we see that the state honors have been given to Ratan Tata, is where his last rites would take place at this Worli crematorium. Right from industrialists to politicians, they were all present right here at the Worli crematorium today. But amidst all of this also, we keep hearing chants from inside the Worli crematorium, that of thousands of people who gathered, common men who gathered to pay their tribute to him, saying Ratan Tata Amar Rahe, or even one day Matram. So in fact, this shows the kind of contribution that Ratan Tata had towards the country as a son of the country. And here, of course, this is only there's only so much that that one could in fact give as a tribute to Ratan Tata. For it is not, it's even not 1% of what he's giving back to the country as a whole.
Yes, it is very often said that the true greatness of a person is known in time of his death, when the number of people actually turn up to pay their last respects, and something that is also the case with Ratan Tata, as we see the many hundreds that have thronged the Worli crematorium, not to forget all those who turned up to also pay their homage at the NCPA. Give us a sense of who all are present at the Worli crematorium. We've already seen how the public was dying to get a last glimpse of Ratan Tata during his last journey. Tell us who all have been there.
So yes, Kumar Mangalam Birla was someone who just walked outside. Apart from that, we saw the Union Home Minister Amit Shah being present. We also saw the Industries Minister Uday Samant being present. Apart from that, there was Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, Chief Minister N18L. All of these people were present right here at Worli crematorium. But apart from that, there were 7 people who visited him at the NCP, who gave their last respects at NCP. Now these were people from across different sectors, right? From Amir Khan. Apart from that, we also saw Mukesh Ambani and his entire family visiting. We also saw several top politicians, including Sharad Pawar, Supriya Sule, Ajit Pawar, all of them paying their last respects. So here at Worli crematorium, considering that the prayers are over, most of those VVIPs who had come to pay their last respects have now left. But right now, there are only close family members and friends of Ratan Tata remain inside. In fact, when you see of NCPA, there were several VVIP moments that took place, including also some people who had to share their own anecdotes. Some of these moments that took place were also that of people's lives whom Ratan Tata had touched. However, it is, of course, a legacy that does not end anytime soon. Right outside this Worli crematorium as well, we keep seeing, there are various posters that have been put up for Ratan Tata, paying last respects to him. In fact, I asked my DJ to show you visuals of these posters that have been put out, paying tribute to Ratan Tata across the entire wall of Worli crematorium. And that was the kind of lively touch. Now, of course, the only people who remain inside are people, government from Worli who gathered here to pay their last respects to him, and some close family friends who are still inside. In fact, at the NCP, we also saw several of his family members visit, pay tribute to him, and of course, the close friend of Ratan Tata, that is Shantanu Naidu, he continues to remain inside because he was the one who led the convoy right from Tata House until NCP and now. In fact, we show you visuals right from behind. We show you visuals from right behind this very wall, where tributes keep pouring in for Ratan Tata. Of course, a life well lived, legacy that he left behind is something that people will continue to cherish. People across the country will continue to cherish. And now, as we see, those who've gone in to pay their last tribute to him are also walking out from the gates of the Worli crematorium. Some of these are close family friends, community members who gathered to pay their last respects to him. And with this, a chapter which was crucial in the Indian history of business, for that matter, even philanthropy. And with this, but something, a legacy that he leaves back despite not being around with people. Yes.
And he was somebody who was also known for his bold bets. We've seen how he's taken brand India to an international level. But having said that, how also he became a household name. What perhaps it may have taken for a name like Ratan Tata, that too at the time when India was at its peak of liberalization, to take that call of make the kind of capitalism that he believed in should be one that should be made of ethical practices, one that is more generous and not the kind of ruthless capitalism that we see being promoted by industrialists nowadays. And in fact, I'm going to keep coming back to our viewers with those visuals, but for now, all I can tell you is that the 24-gun salute has been accorded with full state honors to Ratan Tata. Time for a quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18 as we bid adieu to the board.
Lights!
Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but JRD Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from JRD Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second largest tea business to...
Welcome back. All right, to give you the latest on Ratan Tata's last rites being performed, we know that the full state honours have now been accorded to Ratan Tata, and in fact, as we speak, I'm also joined in by Captain Zoya Agarwal, who is a commercial Indian aviator. Thank you, Captain Agarwal, for joining in. I read your post on X, in fact, and I'd like you to tell us what is that special moment that you talk about which has been permanently etched in your memory.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for having me here. But it's been a tough night ever since we all heard the news. I think in many, many ways, sometimes you don't have relationships which link to you by blood, but sometimes you have relationships and you get inspired by people in more ways than one, where they touch your lives in so many ways that they actually just become like your family members. So ever since last night, ever since I've heard the news, I felt like I lost one of my family members, and I wouldn't be wrong to say the entire nation or entire world feels the same. You have to meet him to realize what is so special about him. He is such a humble person. I think the most humble person I've ever met in my whole life. And he comes across as one of us, but he is so much more. He inspires you. He will motivate you to the next level when you meet him. Just his aura, I think it's a privilege for me to be born in the same era. And I feel incredibly blessed and honored to meet someone as legendary as him. And I'm forever grateful for that.
You are the right person to, in fact, speak to about Mr. Tata's own contribution to the aviation sector. But before I do that, to our viewers, we are currently showing on the screen that very heartwarming picture of yours with Mr. Ratan Tata. Tell us and share with us that moment which you've managed to capture with Mr. Ratan Tata and what exactly happened, because we can see he's being so humble and he's standing behind you over there. Do share with us that anecdote. All right, we seem to have lost that connection with Captain Zoya Agarwal, but as she was sharing her connect with Mr. Ratan Tata. Captain, I was just in fact asking you about that photograph that you've shared with us, and it of course goes on to speak 1,000 words, but do share with us that moment which has been captured in that photograph with Mr. Tata.
I was flying him. I had the honor and the privilege, and honestly, the biggest blessing to fly him from New York to Delhi, a sector he doesn't travel very much. And when that happened, I obviously was in my fangirl zone, and I went and spoke to him. We spoke about business, the strategies, and aviation. It was a wholesome discussion, and I'm very passionate about business and aviation myself, and he's passionate about so many different paradigms. And towards the end, when I requested him for a picture, and I was getting up from my captain's seat, and he was like, "No, please do not get up. This is your throne, Captain. You have earned it. So don't get up from there, Zoya. I will come behind you." I did not know how to react. I mean, that's the person who we feel is the most successful person in probably, daily day-to-day lives. What he's done, the kind of impact he's created, not just on the businesses, but the humanitarian side. He has left an impact on every single one of us and touched our lives in one way or another. A person like that who says something so incredible, I was so inspired by him that I later on discussed with him, and I decided to do my MBA. After this discussion, I'm like, he's a pilot, he's into all these things. I wanted to be like him, and we have very similar philanthropical mindset, and I was so inspired by what he was doing. And that just moment told me that leadership is not about you. Leadership is not about you leading. Leadership is about the people who you lead. How well you uplift them, how well you make them progress under your leadership, and how the whole organization and the country and the world comes up under you.
Absolutely, and going by everything that you're saying, which is so perfectly believable, that is what is the differentiating factor that makes Ratan Tata today the case study in ethical business practices. His humility and his magnanimity is what is the legacy that he leaves behind from all that he's given to this entire nation and the world. Many thanks to you, Captain Agarwal, for joining in On Nation at 5 here at CNN News 18. And with that, it's time to slip into a quick break. We'll be back with the latest. Stay tuned.
Lights! Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking, and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but JRD Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second-largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself, in 2008, Ratan Tata launched the Tata Nano, his dream project of small but super cheap cars for millions of Indians. It came to be known as the people's car due to its affordable pricing. The project hit a roadblock in Singur and had to shift to Gujarat. In December 2012, he stepped down as chairman of Tata Sons after 50 years with the Tata Group and was appointed chairman emeritus of Tata Sons. A big backer of education and healthcare, Ratan Tata generously funded many philanthropic projects.
Welcome back. In fact, we are learning that Mr. Ratan Tata's state funeral should be happening any time from now. We, in fact, have seen how he has been accorded the full state honors. And
for you. गाड़ी आली का बगना मोटरसाइकिल टू व्हीलर
Brought to you by
Iconic industrialist and one of the most respected businessmen of India, Ratan Tata was born to Parsi parents Naval and Sunu Tata in Bombay in 1937. Ratan was raised by an indulgent yet disciplinarian grandmother Nawajbai along with younger brother Jimmy after their parents were separated. Life was luxurious for the young Tatas, but their grandmother instilled a strong set of values in them. Young Ratan played a lot of cricket, learned the piano while leading a protected life. Ratan Tata studied in Bombay's famous schools Campion and Cathedral and John Cannon. He would say later that he was shy, fearful of public speaking and not into too many extracurricular activities. After school, Ratan Tata set sail to the United States to study architecture and structural engineering at Cornell University. The years he spent in the US from 1955 to 1962 had a tremendous influence on him. He traveled the country and was ready to settle down in Los Angeles. But his love affair with America broke as Lady Nawajbai's health deteriorated and he was forced to return to a life he thought he had left behind. In India, he had a job offer from IBM, but J.R.D. Tata wouldn't allow him to join there and asked for his resume. That's how Ratan Tata joined Tata Industries in 1962 as an assistant and spent 6 months at Telco and Tisco plants in Jamshedpur. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. In 1965, he was appointed technical officer in Tisco's engineering division, and in 1969, he worked as the Tata Group's resident representative in Australia. He returned to India in 1970 to join Tata Consultancy Services for a short stint. His first big job was with Nelco, where he was made director in charge in 1971. In 1974, he joined the board of Tata Sons as a director and rose to become chairman of Tata Industries in 1981. In 1991, as the Indian economy was on the threshold of liberalization, Ratan Tata took over from J.R.D. Tata as chairman of Tata Sons to run the group founded by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago. He soon started restructuring the Tata Group. The group not only achieved spectacular growth, but it was under his leadership that the Tata Group saw a series of high-profile acquisitions like Tetley, Chorus and Jaguar Land Rover. The billionaire's empire extended from salt to the world's second-largest tea business to giants in steel, software and hotels. A car enthusiast himself, In 2008, Ratan Tata launched the Tata Nano, his dream project of small but super cheap cars for millions of Indians. It came to be known as the People's Car due to its affordable pricing. The project hit a roadblock in Singur and had to shift to Gujarat. In December 2012, he stepped down as chairman of Tata Sons after 50 years with the Tata Group and was appointed chairman emerite.
Good evening, you're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. There's a fresh confrontation brewing between the Aam Aadmi Party, the Delhi government and the central government. Last evening, belongings of Delhi Chief Minister Atashi were removed from the residence by officials of the Public Works Department 2 days after she had moved into the Civil Lines bungalow. A cycle rickshaw, a mini truck was seen leaving the Chief Minister's residence last evening with a cupboard, some cardboard boxes and some of her belongings. The house was then promptly sealed. Calling the move unprecedented, the Chief Minister's office said that for the first time in the history of this country, a Chief Minister had been asked to vacate her home. They accused the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi of